Have you ever answered the phone to a woman screaming that her house is on fire and her baby's inside? There's nothing you can do but listen to the baby screaming in the background, do your job, and pray that the first responders make it there quickly. Most of us have called the police at least once in our life. When we've done this, we've spoken to a dispatcher. Although I've been at the bank for 13 years, for the past 5 years I've also been a dispatcher and dealt with the stress of that job. The purpose of my speech is to inform my audience of the stress that a dispatcher endures on a daily basis. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about dispatcher burnout, post-traumatic stress disorder, and the stress of dealing with the officers over the radio. One of the most common stressors a dispatcher deals with is called burnout. According to Headsets911.com, dispatcher burnout occurs when a dispatcher is unable to cope, adapt, or adjust to their work environment. This means the long hours, the constant phones ringing, and the constant radio traffic puts the dispatcher's body on alert status. Even when things are calm and quiet, the dispatcher's body never truly relaxes. It's always waiting for the next phone call, the next radio transmission. Another thing dispatchers are suffering from is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Although PTSD is more commonly associated with veterans, there was a study conducted by Michelle Lilly for the Journal of Traumatic Stress, which concluded that dispatchers are at an increased risk for developing PTSD or the symptoms of PTSD. Although the dispatcher is not witnessing the traumatic event firsthand, they're dealing with the emotional trauma of the victim. Most callers are hysterical when they call, and the dispatcher has to put their emotions aside just to be able to get the pertinent information needed from the caller. Finally, I'd like to tell you about the stress of dealing with the officers over the radio. Most officers like to believe they are the only ones on the radio, and that the dispatcher's job is to sit there and listen to them. In an article, 10 Things Dispatchers Want You to Know by Dean Scoville, it emphasizes the fact that dispatchers are multitasking. Not only are they listening to the radio, but they're answering the 911 phones. It's very stressful to have an officer yelling across the radio at you because he's in a bad situation, and you have a person yelling at you over the phone because their situation to them is just as important. In conclusion, I hope I was able to shed some insight on the stress that a dispatcher deals with on a daily basis. Whether it be dispatcher burnout, PTSD, or even the stress of the officers over the radio, a dispatcher's job is very stressful. I felt qualified to speak to you on this topic because I was the one that answered the phone with the woman screaming about her baby. I was the one that dealt with that stress. So the next time you call the police, remember, just because the dispatcher might not sound that happy to hear you on your situation, you never know what the situation was that dispatcher had just dealt with.